Welcome to Impact and Influence, the podcast for real estate business owners and professionals who are ready to make a bigger impact, scale, have greater sustainability, and increase their influence. This series opens the door to the sharpest minds across the industry, including agency owners, advisors, and trusted partners who share real-world insights and lessons learnt. These are short, practical conversations designed to save you time, sharpen your strategy, and help you build a business by design, not by default. If you're responsible for growth, profit, client experience, leadership, recruitment, or retention, this podcast is your go-to for smarter choices and more decisive leadership. It's proudly presented by Regrowth. We are a coaching and consulting business for the real estate arena. We help you build on capability, connection, and curiosity. Here we are, episode 2 of Impact and Influence. I'm here with my business partner and great friend, Lauren Kirk. Hey, Loz, how you going?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you.
I think a lot of people don't know, actually, and I'm consistently pushing it all the time, that you are my business partner. Lauren and I have worked together at LJ Hooker,
yes,
at Di Jones,
yes,
and now at Regrowth. And I can remember sitting with you at Cafe Sydney many, many years ago, talking about how one day we would be in business together or partnership. We almost got there with Rob Ward, but planets didn't align at the end when you were the head of our training academy for all of the offices and the network at Di Jones. And I can remember when I sold out, it took me a little while, but I got you across there. But it was about, let's build something together. Yeah. Let's leave a legacy and let's have a crack. What have you learnt?
Oh gosh, Kylie, what have I learned? I don't know that I can summarize that quickly because there have been so many lessons for me within business. There's been lessons, but also personally. So I think if I go, okay, what have we learned as a business? Kylie and I are great at moving very quickly. For those that know us, we'll probably have a bit of a laugh at that one.
Greatest strengths, your greatest weakness, right? It's important to consider.
And I think probably one of my biggest lessons is knowing when to slow down, to speed up, because brain explosions are great, ideas are great, but if you don't actually implement well, then it's sort of a bit of a waste of time and energy in that space for not just you, but also the team around you. So slowing down, focusing on one, what we really want to do and not trying to be everything for everybody, but also, as you said, knowing what your strengths are, but what we really want to focus on. So I think you mentioned it in the first episode, like first 3 years is, that lesson of learning of where we want to go. And I think for me, it really is about what is it? Well, for me, maybe I'm speaking, but it's about what do I really enjoy doing and really just focusing on that so that I love what I do and I want to be able to continue to love what I do rather than feeling like I'm stretched and just doing for the sake of doing.
Yeah, just living to turn up to work. And that's why I think we're so passionate about what we deliver, because we really do believe that we are making a difference with the core competencies that we deliver. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I think I met you for the first time, I'm going to say, and you'll correct me because your memory is much better than mine, 2012.
We'll say yes because I can't remember.
You walked in. We didn't really have a job for you, but I met you, and this is a great learning around. If you find the right people, then find the right role for them. We didn't have anything. I was working with Chris Maud at the time, walked out and said to Morty, I know we don't have anything, but we've got to find something. I've just met this Lauren Kirk. She's amazeballs and she's got practical life skills, but more importantly, you'd worked in business in real estate, but also outside of real estate.
Yeah.
So walk us through your career and what's that look like? Because I think a lot of people don't know your journey and it's very interesting.
Can do. So don't quote me on years, Kylie, because they're all a bit blurry. And can I blame baby brain 2 years on?
No, you can't. It's just old age. No, being too busy probably.
So 20 plus years ago, I started in real estate and I think, like everyone, never really planned a real estate career. Thought it would probably be a bit of a short-term gig because my uni career was ended when I realised I'd chosen the wrong degree.
What course did you pick out of memory?
I did exercise sports science, if you can believe that.
I can actually give you a sporty spice. So, yep, okay.
Yeah, just not very science focused. But anyway, thankfully I chose not to go ahead with that. Yeah, was like, okay, well, I need to get a job. So I know a bit of real estate. My family had a real estate business that I grew up around from, when I was at school. And took a little bit of time off to go traveling, as you do when
Where'd you go?
early 20s. I went and lived in the UK for 18 months. Best thing I ever did in my life.
Did you do real estate over there or something else?
A little bit. I did a little bit of real estate and learned a lot of what not to do. I won't name brands.
We won't ask who you were working for.
But worked in recruitment for most of the time that I was over there for quite a big global recruitment brand. Yeah, it was just around that high performance sales team. So very, very similar to a real estate business when you think about the activity that they were doing and the accountability
and recruiters,
piece.
machines at that sort of thing, right?
Insane.
And prospecting and your nurture, lot to be learnt.
Yeah, lots of learnings there. Probably didn't quite take it as seriously at 23 that I could have.
Partying too much, Lauren Kirk, and having a good time travelling.
Of course. That's what you do, right?
Well, it is what you do.
Once I decided, I didn't decide to come home. I ran out of money and had to come home. And I remember saying to my parents that I wanted to join the family business. And I don't think anyone really thought that was the case, but I did, and probably wasn't planning on being there long term either, but realised how much I loved it. So I ended up joining that business. And
what did the business look like?
So we grew over time, so with some acquisitions, but mostly organic growth. And I'll say at the end, so when I left, we went from one office to two back to one. And we grew to about 900 managements and had a team, at one point, I think we had about 25 people. So it was quite a big business.
So that was the sales team and the property management team.
Yep. Yeah.
What was your core functionality in the business?
It changed over time. I say lucky, but I hate the word luck. But I was really lucky to have worked across all areas in that business. So I did do sales. I did do property management. I kind of had the mentality of, as we had a gap, I just said, yeah, I'll do it. And sometimes learnt along the way. And I think there was definitely some big learnings in that.
What was the hardest part for you being a career professional? And you'll hear Lauren and I quite frequently, we don't say a woman in real estate, a career professional in real estate in their 20s. Did you have any challenges, or was it all,
so many challenges. And I think that was probably one of them. And I think back then I didn't like to admit that I didn't know.
I was not asking for help.
Yeah. So I was very determined to prove that I could, rather than saying, hey, I actually don't know this. And
how exhausting was that?
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. Rather than being vulnerable and putting up your hand and saying, hey, or getting the help that you needed. That's really good advice, guys, I think, from people listening. We don't know all the answers.
Absolutely.
Here we are all these years later.
I still don't know all the answers.
No, but being curious. So how long did you work in the business?
I was there for about 8 years.
And then what?
Then I decided to pack up and move to Sydney, and hence the interview that you were talking about in the last episode of when I first met Kylie Walsh with no job to offer, but thankfully you created one for me. So that's where I sort of started in that franchise world.
What'd you learn from franchising? Because I think part of franchising for people working in corporate, it's not something that they get a lot of training, coaching or mentoring in. Like the great franchisors offer it.
Yeah.
But we've got all this stuff for salespeople and property managers and business owners. But how do we develop, coach and nurture the franchisor team that are supporting businesses across Australia and individuals on thriving?
Yeah, I think
what did you learn?
Oh gosh, for me, that's the trickiest thing, because you've got a diverse group of offices. And for me, at one stage, I was working across the country. It's not a one size fits all approach. And it's really hard to learn different markets, different structures, different
legislation,
teams, different legislation.
States.
Yes.
Yep.
So I think for me, there were so many lessons in that approach of how do you walk into a business and help them with what they actually need to know. Because I suppose I kind of took from me being the franchisee, and I used to get really, really frustrated when someone would just walk in and be like, do this, 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 and this. And I'm like,
and then leave.
Hold on 2 seconds. You've just started. You have no idea how I've run my business, what my focus is for the next 12 months, what my team looks like, or what we're working on. None of that relates to my business. So with due respect, I'd actually rather you not waste my time or your time.
What a great agenda for any franchisors listening when you walk into an office, an SLA.
Yep.
For the next year or 2 or 5 years. How do we help you get to your end goal? These are the tools and experience we've got that can bolster that, but where are your gaps?
Correct. And I think it's that question of how can I help you first, rather than you have to do this. And I suppose I try, and I don't always get it right, but I really try to take that into my consulting coaching now, is what do you need? How can we help you? Rather than the agenda being driven by us. It always needs to be driven by the client. And if we then flip that, Kyles, and we think, well, hang on, from a sales perspective, from a BD perspective, from a property management perspective, it's exactly the same. It's not about your agenda, whether you're listing, you're going into a listing presentation or you're trying to do a deal. It's about how's the client feeling? Where are they at? And what do they want from you in order to, achieve whatever their outcome is? And I think we need to take that approach a little bit more than just, this is what we want.
Yeah, it's an old saying, right? Seek to understand, then be understood.
Yes.
Asking great questions, right? Any amazing sales agent, they master it. Asking great questions, finding out, and then bridging the gaps with how you can help. All right, so we're at Hookers, then what?
Then I went to Rain & Hall Corporate, head of property management nationally for there, and being the first person in that role, that was one really exciting. So I felt like I really got to build something from the ground up and, got to meet some amazing people.
Yeah, great brand, great human, young Angus Rain. He'll like that we said young Angus.
Yes. And, learn a lot in that space. One, it's for anyone that's starting a business, I think, again, it's like you don't know what you don't know and you try and you fail and you think it's a great idea and it doesn't work, but you've just got to keep, putting the pieces together but focusing on what you actually want to achieve. Yeah, that was a couple of years there. And then I really started into the consulting space after that.
We learned a lot in that national role at Rain & Horn Group. And then you started to really gear up in the coaching and consulting space.
I did. So then I joined Fiona Blaney at Real Plus.
Yep.
And was there for 4+ years, coaching, consulting. And I think that's where I really knew that I loved that consulting space.
Fire in your belly.
Yeah, really being able to help individuals and businesses with, improving what they do and improving their businesses and themselves. So that was a lot of fun, a lot of travel.
I think that's hard,
space.
Right? I think franchising in particular in national roles and in our gig coaching and consulting, which is why you and I have probably decided to stick where we have and why we are looking for somebody in WA, if anyone's interested that's listening. It is important to us that balance, but you can only do so much, right?
You can only do so much.
And then along came Walsh and to Di Jones. And what did you do at Di Jones?
So I was head of training at Di Jones across the brand, and again was still in that consulting coaching space, but was able to really focus on what we wanted to achieve just as a brand and work probably a bit closer with the sales agents because I was literally sitting side by side, same with the property managers, as opposed to just going in monthly or quarterly. So again, we like a lot of accountability in that space, a lot of, dialogue training across sales, PM, BD, and worked with the leadership team there. And then
here we are, regrowth. So I think probably you and I had a ball at Di Jones talking about and working on our induction and onboarding program. We had the fabulous Anna Egri, that's now the National Operations Manager of the Real Estate Employers Federation, Caitlin Ellis, that's at CoreLogic, in particular, working really closely with us on that induction onboarding space. And it's probably a good place for us to wrap today because I think in our next episode, we're going to talk about the importance of induction onboarding and some handy hints for people because you and I have an ethos. It all starts there. Set the expectation, set the rhythm. Guys, new team members aren't telepathic. So it's almost like in your businesses is all the time. If something goes wrong or something goes right, is making sure it's back in your induction onboarding. Lauren Kirk.
Yes.
Something that we're going to finish a lot of these episodes with is one question. If you could go back and tap yourself on the shoulder all those years ago when you first started your real estate career and whisper in your ear and say, hey, Lauren, if you can do this in the next 20 years, you'll save yourself time and energy or be more successful. What would that one thing be?
That would be to focus on client relationships and client nurture. If you look after the people who you've done business with and you really nurture that relationship, you've got the trust of them, you've proven yourself, you've got the results. And if you really nurture those relationships, that's going to help you build out future relationships. Loyalty is really hard to come by, but we have to look after the people who know us and who like us and who use us. So I think for me, it'd be really focusing on that client experience, personalizing that client experience a little bit more. I think I probably had a blanket approach to it, but it wasn't very personalized. So really looking at that nurture piece.
That says to me, in the absence of value, you'll compete on fee. I'd just like to publicly say thank you to Lauren. It's been a really busy road the last 3 years. She's not only a great friend, but she's a great business partner. And I'm really excited to share the future with you. Loz, thank you.
Thanks, Carls.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Impact and Influence. Click follow to get notified about future episodes. Leaving a review helps others find the podcast. And to learn more about our courses, our study tours, conferences, keynote topics and our services, or how simply we might be able to help support you in taking you to places you never thought possible, please visit regrowthkyliewalsh.com.